I'm going to show you the Not Really Yoga approach to addressing funky hips. The Not Really Yoga thing comes from the fact that when we go and do yoga, we tend to be stretching and relieving symptoms of dysfunction. The reason I came up with the whole Not Really Yoga thing, for want of a better title until I come up with it, is that we're looking to not just address the symptoms of dysfunction, which is tightness, we're also looking to get to the cause of the dysfunction. So generally, if I'm concentrating on one type of dysfunction, we tend to have a multifaceted approach to it rather than just stretching the area out. So specifically this time with the hip dysfunction stuff, we're going to concentrate now on a muscle called a TFL, which is often implicated in lots of areas of hip dysfunction, whether it also be lower back pain, it can contribute stuff going with the knees, the feet, whole range of bad stuff. So we generally start with some sort of rotation of the joint. So we're going to do a hip rotation here, which might look like this. I say might because when we do this we get a lot of compensations happening. So as I come up, the back wants to move. As I come out to the side, I want to shift over to one side. For that and a lot of other reasons involving tension through the body, etc., which we don't need to go into, we're going to look to lock everything down and stop all this movement that's not allowing us to move the joint properly. So what I'm going to do is kind of shut my hips and my ribs down as I breathe out. I'm going to look to create a lot of tension, keeping weight in this hand. As I bring the hip into extension, I'm looking to not lose this position. So I'm coming up, and we open up, come around, we're trying not to shift weight. It's very hard. It's hard to also make it hard because we tend to want to let that tension go and come back into our compensations. I don't like doing too many more than that when I'm talking, but I'll go 5 or 6 times in each direction. Once we've rotated through the joint, we're going to release some of the tissue, some myofascial release, which is the whole craze at the moment. What you're going to do is find a TFL. So TFL sits, you've got this bony part here. You can find underneath the bone, you can maybe move it a little bit to the side. And we're going to lay on that point. And we're going to open up the other leg a little bit so we can commit some weight to it. So once I've committed some weight to it, and I found my spot, and I often tell people when I show them this, you shouldn't have to ask if you're on the spot because your face will usually tell the story. So we find it, and then we're going to bend and straighten the leg. You might do this, 10 or so times. Then just hang out in the area for a little bit. Try as best as you can to relax. You might want to move around to the outside a little bit and do the same. And then maybe spend another couple of minutes hanging on that next area. Then we're going to stretch a little bit. So the stretch I like is we bring the hips into a posterior tilt. We're going to bring the hand on the outside of the knee, rotate a little bit, and lean. So you should feel a stretch come through here. This is a great stretch. If you're not finding it, you could rotate the foot in a little bit. Sometimes people can struggle with this in terms of trying to feel it in the right spot. Usually when they're struggling is that they're losing their hip position. So we need to come into this sort of position, which obviously makes this muscle longer, which is what we want when we stretch something. Then we like to just kind of move through some of this tissue that connects around the rib up to that TFL. So, be on my back. Just some nice rolling like this. You get the picture. Just keep one foot on the ground. Open up. Might feel a bit of stretch come through here. Then we need to activate the muscle that should have been doing the job that the TFL is trying to do, and that's usually the glute medius. Glute medius is a muscle that sits, you've got this bony part here, sits back around here. My favourite are things like band walks, which I've set the camera up so I can't really do it. The traditional exercise are things like clams. So clams are these sort of things. They're moving like this. You're trying to feel this muscle work. I quite like to let the hip drop over a bit and move more like this. But you can play around with that when you find this bony part and you want this little muscle to be working here. So that, in a little nutshell, is the not really yoga approach to addressing some sort of dysfunction that's outside of just stretching. So we move through the joint, we release some tissue, stretch the area that has a problem, then we look to activate the area that can help to take some load off the dysfunctional area.